There are so many methods, routines and rules around wavy hair. What to use, what to avoid, how to style it. But honestly, once I've freed myself from all of that and just focused on what does my hair actually need, my hair got much healthier and a lot easier to style. Today, I want to share with you the wavy hair advice that I would stop following, or at least seriously question, is this right for my hair needs and also my lifestyle? And I want to start with the one that made the biggest difference for my hair. Let's chat silicons. Rule 1, avoid silicons. For a long time, silicons have been treated like the enemy in curly and wavy hair communities. But if your hair is damaged, colour treated, frizz prone, high porosity, silicons can actually be really helpful. They can help your hair feel smoother, shinier, improve slip and reduce friction, making detangling much easier, and also go some way to prevent damage. They almost add like a layer of protection to your hair, which I found that as I'm getting older, I have less natural protection, and so it's more important than ever to use silicons in my hair care routines. One silicone that I specifically look out for these days is amodimethicone. Now, I am very far from being a cosmetic chemist, but from my basic understanding, amodimethicone is very clever. That's probably doing it a disservice. If you would like to understand the science behind it, I will include a link to Lab Muffin's channel and the specific video where she goes into the science behind amodimethicone. But from a layman's perspective, what it does is actually attach itself to damaged areas of the hair rather than completely coat it. So it gives us that extra protection where we need it most without weighing down our hair, which is particularly great if you've got fine hair. For me, silicone-free was definitely not the answer. In fact, it had quite a negative impact on my hair. So these days, I tend to judge products and rules on how my hair responds, rather than just blindly following them because someone on the internet said, trust the process. But that's not to say that it wouldn't work for you. I just don't think there should be a black and white universal approach to certain ingredients. I think it's much more important to judge rules and products based on how your hair actually responds. And honestly, I think that's just the best approach for most of these rules. If you'd like to reintroduce silicons into your hair care routine, one of my absolute all-time favourite products containing amodimethicone high up in the Inky list is Pureology's Hydrate conditioner. This has such a beautifully conditioning, hydrating formula. It's particularly great if you've got hair that's on the dry and frizz-prone side. It adds a lovely amount of slip in the shower, which makes detangling really easy, and then it just leaves my hair feeling silky smooth and soft. It won't get as tangled or feel as rough when I've used that conditioner. It is absolutely one of my all-time favourites. However, it is definitely on the pricier side, so if you would like a budget-friendly alternative, Toni Guy Volume Addiction Conditioner. That also has amodimethicone high up in its ingredient list. I don't find it to be quite as hydrating as Pureology's, but it'll still add that amazing amount of slip and leave your hair feeling protected. Rule number 2, avoid sulfates. Okay, so since we're already talking about ingredients we're told to avoid, let's continue and talk sulfates. To me, again, it's just not a black and white situation. There are definitely times that you may want to opt for a much more gentle cleanser. For example, if your hair's really damaged, dry, fragile, or if you have a really sensitive scalp, then yes, a sulfate-free gentle cleanser might be a better option for you. But I don't think that sulfates should be treated like the enemy. It's really important to get rid of product buildup that sits on our scalp and roots, and a sulfate formula shampoo will be a really effective way to do that. How I approach it now is just before I get in the shower to do my wash routine, I ask myself, what does my hair need today? And also, how am I planning to style it? So if my hair's feeling super dry and fragile, I probably will opt for a sulfate-free. If, however, it's feeling limp and lifeless and kind of weighed down, then I know that I need a really good, decent cleanse. And I may opt to use Ouai's Detox shampoo, or I may just grab a sulfate formula shampoo. The only thing I will say is if you're dealing with hard water and you've got chemical and mineral buildup, then it is worth getting yourself a collating shampoo. But for general product buildup, a sulfate formula shampoo can be a really thorough cleanse. Rule number 3, no heat, air dry only. Okay, this one does annoy me, and I think it's because people online get very, let's call them intensely passionate about it. And of course, if you have severely damaged and fragile hair, then yes, absolutely, you want to be really careful and sensible about using heat. You may need to stop, or you may need to just significantly reduce heat styling for a while. But I don't think that having wavy hair means you should never pick up a curling tong or a pair of straighteners. One of the best things about wavy hair is how versatile it is. You can wear it natural, smooth it, straighten it, curl it, heatless style it. It lends itself to so many different styles. And for me, air drying isn't always actually the healthier option, particularly in winter when it takes so long. So absolutely, I am super sensible when it comes to heat styling. I don't do it every single day. I always make sure I'm using a really good heat protectant. And I have found a couple of tools with really low temperature settings. So first, let's talk heat protectants because they are so important. Firstly, the one from GHD. I honestly feel like this is really protecting my hair. The only thing I will say is it does have quite a strong fragrance. So if you're someone who likes to avoid that, this one's not for you. It's also on the slightly pricier side. My budget-friendly alternative is OGX Bond Repair, the Continua Mister bottle. Absolutely amazing. With both of those though, if you are using them on dry hair, what you want to do is apply them, make sure you've got really good even coverage, and then just give your hair a little bit of a blast with the hairdryer. You don't want your hair to still feel wet to the touch when you go in with a heat styling tool. And let's talk heat styling tools because I have 2 firm favourites that are both pretty budget friendly, especially if you're comparing them to something like Dyson, and have incredibly low heat settings. Firstly, for a blowout brush, I don't think you can go wrong with the one from Wavy Talk. It gives you that beautiful bouncy blow dry or just a slightly smoother finish without really having to put in very much effort at all. Nice and easy to use, and its lowest heat setting is 150 degrees, which is what I use it on. And then I have, in the last 6 months, started using a curling tong again. And I went on a hunt for the lowest possible heat setting that I could find. And I came across this brand, which I had not heard of before, and I don't know how to pronounce, so I'm now going to look that up. It's W-A-H-L. How do you, wow? Wow. It goes as low as 120 degrees, and that is exactly what I use it on, and I absolutely love it. So versatile, really easy to use, absolutely brilliant. But the main thing for me is how low the heat setting is. Never use heat is one rule I happily ignore. Rule number 4, layering multiple hold products. This is one that really, for me, comes from the curly hair method, but it has been watered down into many a wavy hair routine. And yes, there are some on my own channel. I have also fallen victim to this one many times. If this works for you and you like the look after using foams, gels, curl creams and mousses, then you don't need to listen to the rest of this rule. You could skip ahead to number 5. But if you have found that your wavy hair gets weighed down, crunchy, stiff, sticky, your results just do not last beyond day 1, then you may want to rethink this one. For me, the best approach is again asking myself before I start styling, what does my hair need? If I'm looking to create kind of a more voluminous look, then I'm probably going to go in with something like K18's Astro Lift or Olaplex's Volumizing Mist, or you could even use a lightweight foam. If your hair is feeling really dry and frizzy, then you're definitely going to prioritize hydration and use a really good leave-in conditioner. So tackle those kind of key priorities first and then add just one hold product. You just want one product that's going to give your hair enough support without weighing it down or making it feel super crunchy. I don't know about you, but I just want my hair to feel really soft and touchable, not crispy or crunchy. There are so many single stylers that I think work beautifully for wavy hair. A couple of firm favourites of mine. Firstly, Evo's Liquid Rollers Curl Balm. This is a really beautiful hybrid-like formula. It's a little bit curl cream and a little bit gel magically mixed together. It won't weigh down your hair. It will definitely add some definition and some hold. No crunchy or sticky residue. You can use it on damp or wet hair, but you can also use it on dry hair, almost like a little bit of a texturizing pomade. Very versatile, absolutely love it. However, if you can't get hold of Evo where you are, you could always try Bumble and Bumble's Don't Blow It Styler instead. There is one for fine hair, which is the one that I use, and they also have one for coarse hair. This one is more designed for air drying, but I have used it many times when I've diffused and it works brilliantly. Does a very similar job to the Evo. And then finally, if you do want a more traditional gel or a little bit of extra hold, I'd highly recommend Olaplex number 10. That's their gel and it's incredible at fighting frizz, but it won't give you any kind of cast. I don't know about you, but I actually really dislike having to break a gel cast. I find it actually creates frizz. I'm still not convinced that it's actually a little bit damaging for my hair. So Olaplex number 10, lovely amount of hold without the crunch. Rule number 5, refresh routines. I really do think you might want to question whether you need a full refresh routine on day 2, 3, or 4, or however long you go between shampooing. Now, I'm not saying that you're never going to do anything to your hair on day 2, but honestly, the thought of re-wetting, re-scrunching, adding product, re-drying, that to me does not sound like a refresh. That feels like wash day part 2. Instead, I would be asking myself, why didn't my results last? And it might be linked to some of these other rules. If you're not using silicons and you've got really frizzy hair on day 2, maybe it's because you actually need to reintroduce some protection and smoothing ingredients. Or perhaps, you've been layering multiple whole products and it's just too much for your hair. I actually think that if you get your wash routine right for your hair needs, you won't really need to do much refreshing. I think the goal is to understand what your hair needs and build a routine around that also fits with the time and effort that you want to put in. And I truly believe wavy hair is the best texture because it is so versatile. And if you'd like some inspiration for simple techniques that really work and aren't overcomplicated, you may want to watch this video next. Thank you as always for being here. Take care, have a lovely day. I will see you in the next video. Bye.